my glasses. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Peter Wonker. I want to take you on an amazing trip through a country which is unique on Earth. I'm sitting here right now in the famous Blue Lagoon in Iceland and enjoying the warm water together with the inhabitants and the tourists. 20 million years ago, the surface looked completely different, and still the formation of Iceland isn't over yet. But first, let's enjoy the warm water and, of course, a drink together with the ancestors of the vulcanos. The story of the Blue Lagoon starts in 1226, when a volcano erupted and covered this area with lava. In 1969 it was discovered that approximately 2,000 meters beneath the surface a high thermal field with boiling water could be connected to a power plant. The hot steam at around 240 degrees Celsius is brought to the surface and used for the power generators. The cooled wastewater was then released into the lava field. People started to swim within this wastewater. The bathing facility opened in 1987, where this nicely colored water was directly used for its pools. This characteristic blue color of the water is caused by specific diatoms. Due to the high salt concentration and heat, only few microorganisms are capable to survive these conditions. Year after year, approximately 1 million visitors are enjoying this facility with its characteristic landscape, architecture, and color of water. The story of Iceland actually starts here, where the Eurasian plate and the American plate are drifting apart. It is one of the only places where you really can cross Europe and America without any passports. This separation and this drift had and still have a dramatic effect on Iceland itself. It is one of the most geothermal active regions on Earth. The drift can still be measured, and it's approximately 2 centimeters per year. This region is a geological highlight. It also can be seen as the birth of this island. More than 50 million years ago, while the continents were shifting apart between the continental plates, the transatlantic ripple raised. Huge eruptions began to form the island. Lava just flushed out of this fissure and started to form more and more land on the surface. The Thingvellir National Park is also a historical interesting place where it is recorded that one of the first parliaments was held. The steep stone wall acted as a resonance body in order to better hear the speakers. In 930 AD, it was here where the parliament put this area the first time under protection. In 1920, however, this heritage was taken under the protection and transformed into a national park. It was also decided here that the Icelandic people will officially follow the Christian religion and not anymore the natural religion with its sacred stones and trees. Here in the back you can see one of the 3 most active volcanoes on Iceland. Its name is Hekla. The Hekla volcano is a mixture between a fissure and a stratovolcano. The fissure is to be estimated approximately 5 kilometers long. That's why it has a shape like an overturned boat. The depth of the magma chamber is to be believed between 5 and 11 kilometers. However, ancient myth here on Iceland, they believe that this mountain was the gate to hell. While driving to the top, you can see the vast lava fields, but most of them are from much bigger eruptions than from the last one. The Hekla mountain is at least 6,600 years old and erupted a dozen times. The last eruption was on 26 February 2000. Scientists, however, could recently measure again a slowly increasing bubble beneath the surface. The surface is growing approximately 5 millimeters per year. As it is still a very active volcano, the vegetation is quite poor. The growth is also inhibited due to the former release of fluor during eruptions, which is quite toxic for live beings. But standing on the top is very impressive. I'm standing here on the lava of the Fagradalsfjall, which erupted on the 19th of March 2021. You can see still steam is coming out the surface, and it is still warm. And the presence of sulfur is everywhere. It is 800 years ago since the last time on the peninsula of Reykjavik such an event occurred. The whole source of this lava lies right behind those mountains. Actually, it was not the best idea to stand on a pretty fresh lava flow, as under the surface gas bubbles might be enclosed. The closer such gas bubbles are to the surface, the higher is the risk that the surface can break, especially when someone is walking on it. Luckily, nothing happened. The new volcano, however, is currently more silent, which can change at any time. It is still very impressive how much lava already erupted, and I'm sure that more is to come. On the famous Golden Circle, one of the main attractions is the Strucker Glacier. This glacier erupts regularly and looks quite fantastic. There are geysers which are erupting very rarely. It has a lot to do how the water is channeled below the surface. In order to understand how such a geyser is working, we have to go underground, where the water is collected and heated up. When a certain pressure peak is reached, The water, together with steam, is slipping through a channel to the surface. As a result, you can see the eruption of this geyser. Fume holes, however, they do not have a chamber where the pressure can increase. That's why it can escape immediately. A similar mechanism is applicable for the boiling pools, where the water can immediately escape without being captured in a chamber with a higher steam pressure. Iceland is covered everywhere with such steam holes or boiling water sources. Thanks to the heat, you can easily go to swim into lakes all year round. The heat, of course, reveals other possibilities, which shall be shown later on. While driving on the ring road, there are places which look like moon landscapes. But thanks to those endless eruptions and fast erosions, the landscape of Iceland is unique indeed. The formation of the coast was strongly affected by those eruptions. Bizarre rocks, like the Reynistrangar cliff, were shaped. A legend says that two trolls once tried to drag a ship to the coast, but were unsuccessful. When daylight broke, they became needles of rocks. Those rocks in the water, which are close to the coast, are preferred places for seabirds, such as the famous puffins. There are several colonies of the Atlantic puffins. One of these is located close to Durholey. The breeding season starts around April-May, and the feeding duties are shared between male and female. The parents, however, form a long-term pair bonds. The puffins are great fish hunters, but in a way slightly limited in their flying skills. Glaciers are normally more in the mountains, but not necessary on Iceland. There are locations where the glacier is flowing directly into the sea. This lagoon seems also to be a preferred location for seals, where they can go for a hunt. Approximately 10% of Iceland is covered by ice. There are 4 major glaciers, whereas the Vatnajökull is the largest one, covering an area of about 8,300 square kilometers, which corresponds approximately to the size of Puerto Rico. Since the 19th century, the Vatnajökull has lost around 10% of its volume. Assuming all the ice on Iceland would melt, the sea level around the globe would rise by at least 1 centimeter. Unfortunately, the climate change shows also here dramatic effects, where the ice is melting at an unusual speed. The water in the glaciers is not only stored, but is flowing downhill, and in some cases the water is passing some very impressive waterfalls. The water shaped its way through volcanic surface, and sometimes it just falls from very high cliffs. At the Seljalandsfoss, it is even possible to either surround the waterfall or to enter a cave, which of course was also shaped by a lava tunnel, and see the water falling from the top into this cave. Other waterfalls are just to be admired due to their beauty and size. Svartifoss waterfall, which is translated as Black Waterfall, is approximately 20 meters tall and surrounded by basaltic stones. Those hexagonal basaltic stones are a typical result of volcanic activities. An impressive region is Thorsmörk, where a huge delta from glacier rivers is shaped. The road is nice, but sometimes you have to cross rivers, and sometimes you even have to hope that the water is not too deep. But the valley of the god Thor is indeed a little paradise and a great area for a walk. An interesting fact of Iceland is that trees like this, or so-called forests, or group of trees, are rarely found. The majority of the surface is grassland, some sheep, and the vegetation is pretty poor. The reason for this is that people centuries ago, they used this wood for ships and houses. Now there are efforts to rebuild former forest on the surface of Iceland. Although the number of plant species here in Iceland is quite limited, they are not less extraordinary due to the fact that there's cold winters and short summers. Plants had to develop their own strategy to survive those conditions. In addition, the lava ground doesn't make it much easier. So you can find here approximately 400 different moss species on this island. There are other smaller trees like these birches here, and also the grasslands. There is a nice saying in Iceland: when you are lost in the forest, then just stand up. Although the vegetation, especially the trees, have to find back their way, there are amazing possibilities with geothermal energy. The campus of the Agricultural Institute is close to a geothermal hotspot, where steam escapes. Instead of just let it escape, this energy is collected and used for different greenhouses, and I was quite surprised what vegetation can be found here.
First plants were actually imported here to Iceland in 1939. So these are plants, they're very old. Come from England. I think we come from the Kew Gardens originally. In the beginning, it was meant to be experiment just to find out if it would be possible to grow them commercially in Iceland for production, because then around 1950, when this greenhouse was built, it was meant to produce quite a lot of bananas, and if it would be a success, then other farmers would be able to start growing bananas too. But as I said, it was never a very big success. Now we consider this a part of our gardening greenhouse horticultural history. So we're quite fond of the plants, even though they are not making any difference in the commercial sector. The gardeners here in the Horticultural College started bringing other plants, tropical plants and heat-loving plants like coffee and citrus plants, oranges, and many of the pot plants which people knew how to grow were planted here too, so we can see many of the plants in the greenhouse here are between 50 and 70 years old. But it's not a big crop we get, but we more or less always have some crop. So we are mostly self-sufficient in this place for bananas. And they are very delicious.
Okay.
A few tons per year maximum.
Okay.
Well, you see the pipes here. This is entirely heated up with geothermal water or steam, and lead it through the pipes, and that's how we keep our greenhouses warm all year round. So we can grow, if we have additional light, we can grow tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever, all year round. Almost all greenhouses in Iceland are located very close to hot spring areas. The old variety here, it proves to be the best we have tried.
Okay.
And it's very resistant to diseases too, like fungal diseases, bacteria. Now we have a growing greenhouse sector in Iceland, and we are self-sufficient in many vegetables, more or less. You know, in the recent years, the gardeners have been successful in growing vegetable all the year. It's an industrial hemp. We just wanted to see how it would thrive in a greenhouse. It was sown in the end of May, and now it's reached about 3 meters high, and we have to throw them out very soon because they are all getting too big for a greenhouse.
Okay.
But we were trying to maybe we will try to use the fibers to see how that will, what will happen with that. When they started here, like more than 70 years ago, with the idea that they could fill the market with Icelandic bananas. But it shows that they were very optimistic and tried a lot of things. Some of them were successful, like most of the vegetables and cut flowers and pot plants. Others were not quite as successful, but the banana adventure wasn't as much of a success as they hoped for, but still it is a very interesting part of the horticultural history.
The steam, however, is also used to generate electricity. This plant is the main electricity provider for Reykjavik and fully relies on the steam from underground, which is brought to the steam generators. In bigger tubes, the steam is also provided to the city, which is giving each household the necessary heat to warm his house. Iceland is one of the few countries on Earth which covers its energy need without fossil resources.
So we have almost all energy in Iceland for heating houses and such come from either the power plants from the waterfalls or the geothermal plants scattered around Iceland.
We slowly come to an end of this journey, and I hope you liked it. From my end, a dream came true. I always wanted to visit Iceland with its volcanoes, amazing landscapes and geothermal hotspots. What also touched me is the pioneer spirit which people had here on how to use geothermal energy and, for instance, grow bananas. I had the luck to visit Yellowstone Park, now Iceland, and actually one more place is left, which is similar. It's in Russia, called Kamchatka.